So today we begin creating a guest book using HTML and PHP to have users enter some information into a guest book and then store that information in a MySQL database that we will eventually pull back out using another PHP script. So to get started today, we're going to go into Notepad++ and create a form for users to sign our guest book. I'd like to have about 5 fields in here. And just to refresh our memory on how to make a form, let's go into W3 Schools and grab some code in here for forms. So I'm going to go down to HTML forms. And here's just an example that I can take a look at. Let's start with that example right here. Let's put that in there. Let's come over to Notepad++ and get started. I also would like to have this just skeleton of our web page, and let's put that form inside of there. And because the form's going to go into the body, I'm going to move these to the end, and that gets us started. Let's create just one for the name, and let's call this name, and call this name. And then on the next one, let's put email, which also will be a text box. So let's put email here and change this to email. And I want a little bit more room for my email. So let's put size in here of maybe 50. And let's make another text box for age. So I'll just copy and paste that. And that can probably be pretty small, right? So age maybe 5. Okay, let's go ahead and save this. I'm going to go ahead and save it right there in my local drive under WAMP64, www.peacock. I'm going to put it in there. Eventually, we're going to need this to run with some PHP. So for me, I'm just going to go ahead and call this guest book. And even though we will be running it on our web server, this will just be an HTML page. So that's what that looks like. And if I come to my WAMP server and go to localhost, again, type in my name, and this will be guest book. And that's what it looks like. I don't need these things up here at the top. I can probably change those to say something like guest book. And you can put stuff in here. Okay, so I'd also like to have a select in here. So let's go back into HTML in W3 Schools and go to Form Elements. And let's find a select. There's one right there as an example. Let's pull that in. You can certainly change that. Make sure that goes inside of your form tag. And let's call this interests. And you can change the values in here to whatever you'd like. I'm just going to leave that alone for now so you can see that. And then I also want to put in a text area. So let's grab this here. And put comments. I don't think we need 10 rows. And finally, we're going to need to have a submit button. And we need this guy right there. That'll work. Let's take a look at that out here. Let me reload. And I can probably put some things in here. Age is there. That's kind of ugly looking. Let's put in some BRs here. All right, that can be made to look better, but for now, that's good enough. So we need to have a form that they can enter information in. The second part of this is to set up the database. So for each one, 2, 3, 4, 5, each one of these fields, I need to have a field in a database. So to do that, we'll go back down to our WAMP server and go to PHPMyAdmin. PHPMyAdmin is the interface that we'll use to control our MySQL database. It's kind of archaic looking, but it gets the job done. It's probably better than interfacing it with just SQL statements, which is another way to do it. If you didn't set anything up in here, the username will be root and the password will be blank. If we click go, we will see this load. The first step is to set up our database, and to do that, we'll go up to databases here at the top, and we're going to create a database called guestdb, all lowercase with no spaces, and I'll click the create button here. We only need one table, let's call it guest, and because we have 5 fields, let's choose 5 and let's go. So it wants to know these. We're going to call this guest, email, age, interests, and comments. And each of these can just be a varchar. Varchar just means it can accept any sort of characters that come from your keyboard. Just make sure that your length is enough that you might think it might, whatever's possible here. All right. And let's set up, here, let's hit save. And it says no index defined. Let's create an index. And let's just choose primary and hit go. And you'll see a little key gets added there. That just means that we should probably set up an ID field, but that'll be good enough for what we're going to do. And that creates the structure. So we have these fields, and tomorrow the next step will be to connect the fields in our form that we have out here. These fields have where I can enter data into here and have it get stored into here, and we'll make a PHP script to do that. All right.